Hey guys, Sean Savage here from Streaker Marine. Today we have a Quintrex, the brand new model, the Fishabout Pro. This is the 450, so they make them in the 430 and they work their way all the way up into the mid 5 meters. The 450 is a fantastic package though, and the reason why we like it is it's the smallest boat that Quintrex make that have a underfloor fuel tank, and it's when we can really start to get to the boats that have a little bit more horsepower. They're rated to 75 horsepower. Today we have the 70 horsepower 4-stroke Yamaha. One of the best motors Yamaha has ever made, and just a really sweet package. So we'll go through the performance a little bit later. What we want to talk about at the moment is the difference between the Fishabout and the Fishabout Pro. So the first things that I can see here with the Fishabout Pro above is a hydraulic steering. So the Fishabout comes with the mechanical steering, where the Fishabout Pro has the hydraulic steering. The Fishabout Pro has a burley bucket standard. It has a ski pole standard and the bait board attachment that goes above the ski pole. It also has the deluxe rear lounge. So with the deluxe rear lounge, there's no exposed screws along here, and the rear lounge rolls over the side of the boat, where the Fishabout you'll find will go straight across here and there'll be exposed screws as it goes along. The rear lounges are removable as well, so if you're fishing all day, you can get rid of the rear lounge and have that extra fishing room at the back here. As we go along, Fishabout Pro, Bimini cover with envelope. So right now it's in its envelope position. That can fold out and give you maximum shade. The internal lighting, the upgraded seats, and the seats are awesome. So these are the maritime seats. With the maritime seats, there's a lot more protection. They are very comfortable, but they also have a bolster. So you can lift this up and sit a little bit higher as you're driving along, or if you're parking it, putting it on the trailer, whatever you're doing, it's a little bit easier. One thing I wasn't 100% sure about, but now I'm sold on, is all Fishabout Pros come with hydraulic steering. The hydraulic steering is just so light and nice. So look, if you are looking for the premium package, the hydraulic steering is actually a fantastic standard feature on the Pro. Also, we have a VHF radio, a ship-to-shore radio, which is always super handy. The options we've put on this boat personally at Streaker Marine, we fitted it with the new Elite 7 FS, which is the Fish Finder GPS combination. Shows you below the boat, either side of the boat, all your mapping and all that detail. We've also got the catch and release and the spare wheel on the trailer, which we'll go through a little bit more later. They have a fantastic walkthrough, great access to the anchor. But what Quintrex have always been really well known for, and this boat's no different, is the insane stability. I'm hanging over the side of this boat here, and as you can see, it's hardly moved. The stability of these boats is astronomical, and it's something that you really need to appreciate when you're buying a Quintrex. It's not only the name and the quality of the brand, it's the performance of the hull. The Quintrexes are just an amazingly stable, predictable, easy boat to drive, and they give you such good features. You know, like this now, the boarding platform at the back of these ones has been raised up a little bit. I can be standing at the back of the boat and still above the water as such. So if it's a little bit choppy or whatever's happening, I am above, where the old model, the boarding platforms were a lot lower and the boat was right in the water. So I think that's actually been a bit of an improvement. So what we'll do now is we'll get the boat out in the bay. We'll go through some performance figures. We'll go through some speed and RPM sort of scenarios, how the boat turns, and we'll run it through its paces and see if this boat might suit you for your next purchase. So first thoughts of driving position in this boat is, first things first, the maritime seats are fantastic. They're very, very comfortable. Doesn't matter if you're big, small, tall, short, whatever you are, they're a comfortable seat. The reason why you wouldn't have a maritime seat is two reasons. One is if your boat's narrower than what this boat is, it means that you won't have the width between the seats to comfortably get through the middle. And two is they are a little bit more expensive. So they are a luxury item, but they're a great seat and very, very comfortable. The way the dash is laid out, so the control box, the gauges, the new flush mount sounders, everything's in a really good and visible position. My driving position's fantastic. I can see through the windscreen, but also above the windscreen, which I think is great. So when you get your bimini cover out, maybe a set of clears, our visibility forwards is fantastic. We do have tilt steering as well. So if we stand up and we move our bolster, I'm not going to be that drastic, but I can stand and adjust the steering wheel to my standing position. And the standing position is great because one thing we do have is a drop floor forward of the seats. So I can stand up and I'm not really above the boat. And then when I sit down, my knees aren't at my ears because the floor's a little bit lower. I think that's a great option. So we can adjust our steering just here. One thing I want to show you just quickly as we're coming up to this jetty here, and we'll elaborate a bit more in a moment, is side scan. So what side scan's going to do is that's the surface of the water. From here to here is how deep the water is, and this is what the bank off the ground looks like on the right hand side. So why I'm showing you this is this is the pylons behind us, and that's the shadow off them. Then as the bridge goes along, we go to concrete slabs, and there's a bunch of debris there, and then we go back to poles. So you see pole, slab, debris, and back to the structures there. So if we look behind us again, we'll see the the bridge with the slabs that go down to the water. So what that means is we can physically see items and structures to the left and right hand side of the boat. If we change back to our fish finder by pushing the pages button and sonar, we'll see what's below us as far as fish goes. So this here is our transducer. That's directly below the back of the boat, and this is our history. One cool thing you do have is you can touch the screen and scroll back in time. This here is probably about where those concrete jetties and pylons were. If we go back to our side scan, touch the screen, we can scroll back and see the things that we've actually seen. So we can see on the left-hand side here, there's a lot of debris. On our right-hand side, there was concrete pylons and the poles. So if you're looking at side scan, they're the sort of things that we're going to find. So coming out of our normal place, out of Port Phillip Bay in Patterson River here, where we test our boats, today's a glamour day, it's beautiful. You hear a lot of people talk about how they want to see boats in rough conditions, which is great, and you see that occasionally. But a true feel for a hull is to give it no excuses. So what I mean by that is in dead flat water, a boat has nowhere to hide its faults. You'll see exactly how flat it planes when it gets up. You'll see if the boat wants to porpoise while it's going along. You'll see if it reacts to trim and what it does. You'll see how the boat turns and how hard it'll turn, if it turns level, if it cavitates when it turns. So when you're testing a new hull, if you want to see its true performance, you'll test it in dead flat water, and then if that's perfect, then you can test the chop. The chop quite often is up to the actual driver and the balance of the boat. So you can make in rough water, you can make a good boat look bad or a bad boat look good, depending on the driver's performance and how he balances the boat. But in these conditions here, there's nothing I can do to stop it from porpoising or cavitating or whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the boat up on the plane. The first thing we're going to look at is how flat the boat gets up, so how effortless the boat gets up on top of the water. To do that, my trim, which is my engine height, is relatively low. One hand on the wheel, one hand on the throttle, so I've got control over the whole boat. You don't want to be driving like this because I don't have any control over my trim or my throttle. We want one hand either side. So we'll just accelerate a little bit and we'll see how flat the boat planes. So 3,500 RPM is what we're doing to be comfortably planing. So 3,500, we're doing 25 kilometers an hour, and the boat is on top of the water and quite comfortable. So at this speed, you can come home, you can be cruising along, you don't have to be doing a lot. The boat's sort of set and forget sort of scenario. If we go up to 4,000 RPM, we're gonna give the boat a little bit of positive trim. Why we're doing that is because we want the boat to, as we're going along, we want the boat to sit as level as possible. So as we go faster and the front of the boat gets pitched in a little bit, we can lift the bow up with a little bit of trim. So 4,000 RPM, 2.5 bars of trim, 32 kilometers an hour. We turn, the boat sits level. It's not cavitating, it's not leaning. We can test it a little bit harder, we'll get a bit more throttle. See how hard the boat's turning? Cameraman's struggling. I'm not even touching the wheel. The boat's sitting flat. It's not cavitating. It's not broaching. It's not unpredictable. The boat's very, very happy to be put in those awkward sort of positions. We'll go up, we'll get it going. We're doing 5,800 RPM. We're doing 52 kilometers an hour. A little bit more trim into it. The boat's sitting absolutely fantastic. It's more than happy to be at that higher RPM. And it's one of those boats that where I just really don't have to do much. I don't have to try and keep the boat balanced or stable or anything. The hull, this is why you buy a Quintrex. The hull is just so happy to be, be cruising along. As I said, turn. I look like I'm the world's best boat driver, and I'm really not doing a lot. And that's a sign of a good boat, and that's a sign of a good hull. So we'll bring it back down. Optimum rev range is going to be about 4,300 RPM, which will be about 42 kilometers an hour. The boat's going to be cruising, it's efficient, it's on top of the water, it's comfortable. It's a great family boat, you can be quite comfortable in this. I'm even finding right now with the raised deck and the windscreen, I'm getting very little wind draft. We're doing 40 kilometers an hour, my hat's forward, and I've got no real wind draft coming through the boat. The rear lounge is at a great height, awesome backrest. Plenty of room internally in the middle of the boat as well. So look, if you're looking for a 4.5 meter runabout fishing family cruiser, I'd be certainly putting the Quintrex 450 Fishabout and Fishabout Pro on the wish list, because so far it's a faultless package. It's a fantastic motor on the back there, the 70 horsepower 4-stroke. I find it's got great power. So what we'll do is we'll full accelerate test. So from idle, we'll drop the hammer. No dramas planing. Still got great acceleration. Look, it doesn't have huge top end speed. It's going to rev out at about 5,800 RPM, which will be 50 kilometers an hour. But we're not looking for too much performance. If we wanted to go faster, carry a lot more load, and maybe tow some water skiers, we would probably look at the 75 horsepower. The 75 horsepower is a much bigger capacity motor, and I think that torquey motor would pay dividends on this hull. So if you're looking for maximum performance, we'd look at the 75. Otherwise, it's really a great package. And if you have any questions on the Quintrex Yamaha packages, please feel free to contact us through our comments or through our website. Thank you for watching, and I hope that helps.